Hey there, it's Ben from Pattern Profits bringing you the weekend update and watch list for the week of December 13th. Starting with IWO, our proxy for small cap growth, and it is a mess just all over the place. Looked like we were getting a breakout here. That breakout failed, came all the way back to the lower end of the range, did find support here. It does kind of make sense where we got the bounce and then middle of the week last week found resistance. Volume shelf point of control, year to date anchored VWAP off of the high here as well as the high back here was all in this area acted as resistance on the way back up. So now just got to see how they act. You filled the little gap here too. Is this going to go ahead and make the turn now that the gap is filled? Continue to roll over. Just have to see how they act early in the week. If we take a look at Ffty, this is the IBD Ffty ETF, same kind of thought process here. Found resistance year to date, anchored VWAP off of the high back here. That's where you found resistance, but finding support at the volume shelf. That volume shelf is year to date. So just need to see, does it make the turn here, push back above this next week and start to reclaim some of that? Because it would look nice as kind of a double bottom pattern here, shook out here on the right side, but that really relies on it being able to reclaim these levels and make that turn up the right side. The other one that we like to watch, PDP, not bad, kind of holding that prior breakout pivot level here, 93.62 I had marked as a pivot, and you kind of close right at that on Friday. So again, just got to kind of watch how they act. We'll take a look at the cues because this one was right on schedule. Anchored VWAP attached here from the swing low. That's the prior intermediate cycle low. That turned out to be the area that it found support. We'll zoom in. And right on schedule at 43 days, and then gapped above anchored VWAP from off of the high. A couple pullbacks, that area acted as support. So just see if that makes the turn and continues trying to reclaim that prior high, 408.71, the high there. On the other hand, 1020 clouds right there too. So if this does roll over, a good chance we're coming back to anchored VWAP off of here. Then have to see how acts. 50-65 clouds there, but right at 43 days, so right on schedule. As far as some of the individual setups I'm watching, this kind of goes hand in hand with the cues. What's Tesla going to do? Kind of that double bottom pattern I talked about. You did get a shakeout here, and 50-65 cloud is acting as support. Let me bring volume by price over a little bit closer so we can see just before this earnings gap. So this basically taking into consideration the action from the earnings gap there and that big breakout. Volume shelf is above here, so 50-65 act as support. You got to push back above volume shelf, anchor VWAP off of the high, anchor VWAP off of the earnings gap above. You have 1020 cloud, volume shelf point of control, all right there that can act as resistance. If you can push through there, then you watch that descending trend line to see if it comes through there. But first, got to get through here. That's about 1110, that level. I'll be watching. As far as breakouts, DRVN, Driven Brands, one I'll be watching. This one, pretty clean setup. Let's move this out. Relatively newer name. I kind of see this as like a VCP pattern, quietly consolidating here the last few days on really light volume. 33.42, the standard pivot above, closed at 32.84. So in range to take out that standard pivot, 33.42. Group has been hot too. So definitely have DRVN on the radar. Semis have been acting really well. One of the few that have been reliable for continuation upside. MU, still watching this 85.75 pivot here. Let me bring this over off of the bottom so you can see what else I'm watching. you've got this volume shelf here looking to reclaim. If you get above, this is more of an alternative pivot at 85.75 that I'm watching. If you can push through there, the standard pivot is a little bit higher at 89.05. Lots of eyes there. And then you have the prior high at 96.96. So I think if the MU can get through this 85.75 alternate pivot, it's got a shot to push through 89.05. That's where the IBD crowd comes in, take us higher to those prior highs. Good volume you'll see here on the way up the right side. 1020 cloud is now caught up to price too. We did see it bounce a couple times there last week, so just looking for that to come out of there. Also have FCX. This is one that we had on watch back here as it broke out. Couldn't make the progress that we were looking for up towards that prior high and ended up rolling back over with the market. Now it's kind of recovered. 39.66 was that prior pivot that I was watching, and now serves as an alternative pivot. You're back above the volume shelf point of control here on any strength. Actually closed just below, but any strength from here closes above. If these were a little bit tighter, you'd have a power of 3 set up there too, with 10, 20, and 50 cloud right there to provide support. So look for that 1020 cloud to go green as it comes through 39.66. Then again, you've got that standard pivot of 41.60 above. That's the one that's going to have a lot of eyes. Push through there, you got a shot at the prior highs at 46.10. Also watching Ulta Beauty. This more of a traditional pattern. It was able to recover well here. Kind of shook out below the 50.65 cloud here. Shook out. Nice recovery, but you're back here trying to push through the standard pivot for 14.98. The level that I'm watching there. There's a little bit of a sloppy consolidation, but I do see some volume starting to come in here. You do want to see big volume come through here if it does push through 414.98 and into new highs. Like to see that on triple digit volume or close to it. Another one I'm watching, Antm. As you'll see, we had to kind of go out of the usual small cap growth. None of those look good. Well, most of them don't look good. So a lot of this stuff is not what I'm usually highlighting, but that's what the market's giving us. Had a breakout here, nice breakout here, good volume as it came through 401.90. Saw this as kind of a double bottom pivot. Now you have this anchored VWAP that's attached to that breakout. Reclaimed that on Friday. Now 439.90, the standard pivot above. If you bring this over, you'll see too. And not a power earnings gap here, but it's a big breakout that you can treat just like we normally do with a power earnings gap. Volume shelf point of control is just above, so pretty much any continuation upside here gets you above that, and then you look for it to take out 439.90 above. One more I have is Snow, and this one's really interesting because when all the market is doing one thing, it's kind of doing its own thing here. Standard pivot 405. Let's actually go to the weekly for this one. There we go. If we zoom out here, when the rest of the market is not holding up so well as all, look at Snow's doing a cup. It's rather deep, but cup with handle pattern. You've got an inside week here that it printed last week. 375 was the high last week. You push through 375, then you can start to get that inside week coming out to the upside. Then you've got the 405 standard pivot above. This kind of the cup with handle pattern I was describing. So I'll be watching that 375 above there. Potential early entry as inside week comes out for an alternate entry to that 405 standard pivot. I think this is going to have a lot of eyes on it at 405, especially with most stocks trading, down here at 50, 65 cloud or even lower, closer to the 200-day. A lot of small cap stocks are near the 200-day or below. So for this to be holding up this well, really demonstrating relative strength. So keep an eye on SNOW, SNOW. That's all I have. I hope you have a great trading week, and I'll see you over on FinTwit.